Hey everybody, welcome back to Wing Wednesdays or Foil Fridays, whatever we're going to call this one. This is Tucker at MACkite, and today I'm going to talk to you about my new fascination. I'm sure some other people are out there doing it as well, but we're going to maximize our light wind fun, maximize our time on the water. Also, we're going to maximize the gear we already own, so hang on with me, listen, follow along, and I can guarantee you're getting a lot more time on the water, a lot more fun on the water, and use your equipment more effectively with stuff you already own. So what we're going to do today is talk about kite wing foiling, or whatever we want to call it, and we're going to maximize our light wind potential and do something while we're waiting for the wind to come up or come back up or whatever. We've all been there, we've all gotten to the beach and got skunked. So this is my anti-skunk procedure to make sure you can get out there and have lots of fun no matter what. Alright, so how do we do this thing? Essentially what it is, it's a hybrid of wing foiling and kiteboarding, alright? So, I know lots of you wing foilers out there, like, I don't want to deal with a kite. Well, you want to ride, so if you're getting out there under maybe 9 or 10 knots, you're going to deal with a kite. And you might as well make use of your wing board and get that maximum light wind potential, especially if you got a high wind board that maybe you're not riding that often, but you can ride with the kite. So, how we do that, follow along. We're going to give you a quick tutorial, some reasons why you're going to want to do this, and really kind of mash these two sports together. I know I've been having a lot of fun doing it the past couple of years, really trying to think through the best way to do it, to give you guys a good tutorial. So basically what you're going to do, you're going to take your wing foil setup, your board and your foil. Ideally you want to ride your smaller board and any smaller, faster foils if you have them. You really don't need a humongous monster light wind foil for kite wing foiling, because the kite creates plenty of power. The board, even a small board, you know, at 50 liters, if you can knee start it, is plenty of buoyancy to get you knee started behind a kite. Kite has a lot more power, a lot more lift, a lot more ability for apparent wind. So what you're going to do here is ride that board setup with an ultralight kite. Now you don't have to ride an ultralight kite. You can ride any kiteboard kite down to maybe 9 knots or a little less, maybe if you're good at flying kites. But to get down to that maximum low end, that unicorn session, so to speak, you know, where you can't even hardly feel the wind at that like 4 knot zone, you really need an ultralight kite, something ram air, something single skin, something that's made to fly in super, super light wind. And for me, those kites have been the Fly Surfer Peak 4s, or the Fly Surfer Soul 2s, Ozone Chrono, Ozone Hyperlink, and there's a bunch of other ones out there as well. What these are ultralight ram air style kites, whether it's single skin, dual skin. We'll talk about that more later, but the idea is they're crazy light, they'll fly in almost no wind at all, and they give you good power per square meter. They're very efficient. They're going to build a lot of apparent wind off of your board speed, so that just really levels up things and makes it more fun. Okay, so you got your equipment, you got your kite, your bar, your lines, harness of course. Now you can use a wing harness sometimes, especially if you're riding fairly underpowered, but there will be more stress in your ribs. You'll see in the video I'm kind of I had a rib injury recently and I didn't have my kiteboarding harness with me for this video, so I used my winging harness. It put a lot of pain into that rib. Those aren't designed to hold that kind of power, especially I was riding a 15 when I probably should have been on an 8. But that's what I had with me, so I made it work and it was fun, albeit a bit more painful. If I didn't have the rib injury, I would have been fine. But anyway, if you have a kiteboarding harness, it's going to be nice to ride with that, especially if you're riding powered, not really underpowered. But if you're constantly riding really underpowered, most wing harnesses will work to some degree. So, you know, maybe give that a shot before you go investing, you know, more money in a kiteboarding specific harness. But anyway, I digress. So how are we going to do this thing? Give you a quick tutorial. First thing, if you're not already a kiteboarder, learn the basics of safety. Alright, don't just go launching a big old kite upwind of a tree or a bunch of people. Don't need to hurt people, hurt yourself, damage your gear, don't do it. Learn how to do it right, take a lesson, talk to a friend that does it, watch our learning videos, how to kiteboard, in our YouTube channel, or come into our blog. We have a ton of information in our blog, written information step by step, how safety procedures work, how to hook up a kite, all that kind of stuff. So jump in there and inform yourself so you can be safe. Don't just go out there and launch a kite. It's not like winging. You can't just go teach yourself with almost no knowledge. You got to play it safe, do it the right way, so definitely do that. Thankfully, we're out in light winds, so it's for the most part pretty mellow. And if you do make a mistake, you know, the consequences are lesser than 40, 50 knots. So that's a good thing. But yeah, definitely play it safe. Learn your safety stuff. We're gonna launch the kite. Oftentimes we're launching it from downwind. It's a hot launch because of super light wind, and you really can't launch from the side of the wind. There's just not enough wind to do that. So we're gonna launch the kite. It's up in the air. We're gonna fly it like a bicycle. Pull left to go left, pull right to go right. The basic stuff. Go to the beginner videos and watch that. We're not talking about that here. So be the safe stuff. Do all that. Make sure your lines are rigged right. Make sure you know how to safely land the kite, self-rescue, blah, 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 blah. So there's that. You got the kite in the air. You're going to walk into the water with your board till it's deep enough. Get on your knees. Now there's a few ways to do this. I found pointing the board straight downwind, letting go of the bar once the kite's up at noon. Pay attention somewhat to the kite because you don't want it to get away from you. But if you can do it quickly, get up to your knees and then grab the bar again to gain control. Yeah, usually in light wind, it's going to hang up there up the apex pretty easily. It might drift a little bit to one side or another, especially if you accidentally yank on the side or something, but for the most part, it's pretty easy. So once you're on your knees, you're going to point the board in the direction you want to go, move your kite in that direction, and you begin to plane and build speed. At that point, you can get to your feet. You can do it in a couple of different ways. You can kind of one hand down and pull yourself to your feet, almost like a surf style setup. Or you can also use the kite to pull your body weight up if it has enough power by bringing it up and pulling in, so it kind of lifts your body to standing position. Once you're there, it's all good and gravy, it's gold. Build some speed on the board until the foil is ready to lift off. It's going to lift off. Now this is better than a kite foiling setup. I know all you kiteboarders out there like, why wouldn't I just kite foil? Well, because you need enough power in your kite to board start from a sitting position with a kite foil. Boards are small, and you need a lot of power from the kite to rip you out of the water with that water ski kind of start. And starting on your knees, you can plane out, almost no power in the kite at all, build apparent wind, and that really helps you maximize the range on the low end because you don't need all that extra grunt. Lets you fly a smaller kite, which is more fun, more agile to fly, easier to keep in the sky, better for surfing, etc. But then also it's going to let you fly a smaller foil. Since you don't need to come up on foil immediately, you can plane out on the board and build speed. That allows you to ride a smaller foil that has a higher lifting speed. So you can build some speed on the board before that foil has to lift. And again, that's just going to maximize your efficiency, maximize your top speed. Once the foil and the board do start moving together and building that apparent wind. If you ever flown a really big foil on light wind with a kite, especially a faster ram air kite, you know there's a point where the foil just can't keep up with the kite. You build apparent wind to a point and then it just kind of stops. And there's not a lot of glide there. So what's kind of special about this setup with a bigger board, smaller foil, with kiteboard kite is that you can plane out in really light winds, still ride a really small foil, really small, fast, efficient, glidey foil, which helps a lot in the jibes, in the tacks, in those super light winds. You know, a lot of times the biggest, hardest thing is transitioning to go the other way. You know, it's great to get up and ride one direction, but when you got to turn around and go the other direction, you either need to go downwind in a jibe and the line's slack and it's a huge kite and it just kind of jellyfishes and falls out of the sky, and if you don't have a foil that can glide through that until you create line tension again, it's really not going to work too well. Of course, you can take a jibe, but then again, you also need a kite that can lift you up well through the jibe and a foil that's fast enough to glide through a jibe, or excuse me, tack, upwind, it's a tack. A foil to glide through the tack, upwind, which is challenging. And you don't have a lot of kite power a lot of times, so you're not getting that lift from the kite that's going to keep it flying. So it just allows for more easy transitions, more grace when you make a mistake, when your kite movements aren't perfect. If you hit a lull going into a tack or a jibe, it's just going to really help with that. And then again, if you do flub it up, you got a big board to land back on, plane out, gather yourself, get the kite moving, lift off again, which really helps in those light wind scenarios to be able to slog like that, to be able to touch the board down and plane out without having to restart from sitting. Those of you that already kite foil in super light winds know this. It's really, really hard. You got to have really good kite skill. You got to have the right equipment, and doing it wing foil kiting is really going to allow you to expand the range of the gear you already own. You know, maybe that 8 meter peak 4 you already own, you know, and ride in 10 to 12 knots with your kite foil, you know, throw your wingboard on it and you can get it down to 6-7 knots with no problems at all, and make use of it. Have a kite that's more fun and turny and better for drifting and riding waves and doing different tricks. And then again, you're riding a faster, more glidey foil, so you unlock some performance there as well. I will add, this really isn't like a new rider thing. If you're brand new to foiling, you know, you can certainly learn this, but it's really not like a brand new rider thing. You really want to know how to foil. You want to be at least confident in flying the kite and handling the kite before you go mashing them together in super light wind. You know, you can definitely do this as a new rider in relaunchable wind, we'll call it, you know, in that 10-12 knot zone, a little bit more with the proper size kite. But it is easier, you know, if you're learning kite foiling, just to get a kite foiling board and learn to board start like you're used to with your twin tip. This would be a level up of an experience, a little bit more difficult. So anyway, if y'all are looking for the magic bullet answer to riding light winds, maybe you show up at the beach carrying your winging gear all stoked and the wind just tanked, or it's just not quite there. You know, maybe you're one of those guys that said, hey, the 5 meters enough, I don't need a 7 or an 8. Well, this can save your life. Maybe you already got one of these in your quiver from back in your kiteboarding days. Maybe one of your buddies has one, it's cheap. Maybe you want to come visit MACkite and get set up. We'll definitely get you hooked up with what you need to go do this. But I'm here to tell you it's a lot of fun. It's going to save you from sitting on the beach or driving home disappointed. I've done this in any wind that you can feel. I mean, you're on the beach, you can spit and it just, I mean, you don't see hair moving, you don't see flags moving, but you can be out there riding. You know, I was out there on 4th of July this year, and you had Hobie cats out there trying to move the tiller to kind of paddle their way in, and you just go screaming past them, and they're like, what just happened? Like you're some wizard. It's a lot of fun. You know, I'm not under the any illusion that this is a high performance thing. It's not, guys. This is fun. It's cruising. It gets you on the water. You know, you're out there having a good time, but you know, you're not pushing any boundaries of speed or performance while you're out there. It's just about getting out and having fun, making use of the conditions that you have. And you know, if you're already a winger, it's pretty accessible just to get a kite in a bar. You know, it gets a little bit more intimidating price-wise when you're talking about buying a whole new foil, a whole new board, carrying all that crap with you, rigging it up. Bring that wing board, bring your wing, bring your kite to the beach, and you're set no matter what, and guaranteed not to get skunked. If you all have any questions, jump into the blog. Always pick up the phone, ask us a question here at the shop. Phone, email, chat, whatever. Put a comment in the comment section below, we'll get back to you. And let's get this thing started. I want to see more kite wing foilers this year. I want to see guys making use of those junkie days, all right? And I want to get less calls about people buying 8 meters to ride in 6 knots, because guys, it's not possible. So save that 8 meter for 10 knots, man, and get yourself a kite for those light wind days. This has been Tucker with MACkite, and we'll see you next time.